know that feeling, that buzz when you get an idea for a business, dreaming of charting your own course, building something real.
Absolutely. It's exciting.
But then, bam, reality hits. The time commitment, the capital, maybe even your own savings. It's all on the line.
It's high stakes, skin in the game, as they say.
Right. And you want to get smart, fast, understand why some businesses fly and others just don't. But, without getting bogged down in textbooks.
That's exactly the challenge. And honestly, having some kind of strategic guide, a blueprint, is often the answer. It helps you see the path without getting lost.
Precisely. So today, forget the surface level stuff. We're doing a real deep dive, specifically for you, into launching and growing a business. We've gone through the key sources to pull out the strategies and frameworks that really count.
Yeah, our goal is to cut through all the noise, give you actionable insights, help you focus on what's truly critical at each step of the way.
Okay, so what's on the agenda? We'll kick off with why that strategic foundation is just non-negotiable. Then we'll map out the typical stages a business goes through the business life cycle, what to expect, what shifts are coming.
Yeah.
From there, it's all about validation, making sure your idea actually, has legs. Then getting super clear on who your customer really is and understanding your business plan, not as a static document, but something living.
And competitive analysis, too. Can't forget that. Sizing up who else is out there.
Definitely. Then we'll cover the launch itself, those first crucial steps, strategies for early growth, and then scaling up, building something that lasts.
Sound good. Sounds like a plan. Let's dive in.
Great. So first thing, that's strategic foundation.
Well, one of the things that jumps out immediately from the sources is business success. It's usually not just luck, far from it.
Right. It seems like it's much more often about deliberate planning, intentional actions.
Exactly. Passion, a brilliant idea, they're essential, they're the fuel, like you said. But the sources really hammer home that a proactive, strategic approach, that's the navigation system. That's what keeps you on track.
Makes sense.
And right at the heart of that, you find the business plan and the business model. And these aren't just, dusty documents for a shelf. They're active tools.
Oh, okay.
The business plan, it really forces you to take those maybe abstract ideas and nail them down, translate them into concrete steps.
Getting down to the brass tacks then. Like, what exactly are you selling? Who is it specifically for? How will you reach them?
Precisely. And the sources make it clear this isn't just for tech startups in Silicon Valley. No, whether you're building an app or opening a local coffee shop, this kind of planning is, fundamental.
Okay.
And the business model. That gives you the concise overview. Who are we serving? What unique value are we bringing? And crucially, how are we actually going to make money and keep this thing going? It's the core logic.
Got it. So plan for detail, model for the core logic. Now, to understand the whole journey, the sources talk a lot about the business life cycle.
Yeah, think of it as a kind of roadmap. It outlines the typical way a company evolves over time.
And it seems like there are a few different versions of this roadmap.
That's right. What's interesting is while you see different names, maybe different numbers of stages, the underlying progression is, pretty consistent across the board.
Like what? What kind of stages are we talking about?
Okay, so we saw things like a 5-stage model: launch, growth, shakeout, maturity, decline. Another one used seed, startup, growth, expansion, maturity. There was even a 7-stage one: conception, startup, early stage, growth, rapid growth, maturing stage, and then that fork in the road, innovation or decline.
Wow, okay.
And yet another described them as existence, survival success, takeoff, and resource maturity. So lots of labels.
Okay, quite a few different flavors there. But like you said, the underlying story seems similar. Starts with an idea.
Right. Gets off the ground.
Grows for a bit.
Expands, yeah. Then hits more stable phase, maybe growth slows.
And then you hit that decision point. Adapt and innovate, or risk fading away.
That's the core narrative. And it's really important, the sources stress this, these aren't rigid paths you have to follow. They're more like diagnostic tools. They help you anticipate the typical challenges at different points and figure out which strategies are most relevant then. Some models focus more on financials, revenue, profit. Others look more at operations or strategy, like market expansion or R&D.
So it's less about forcing your business into a box and more about recognizing patterns, understanding the strategic shifts needed at different times.
Exactly. Like the sources really emphasize validating your idea early on. That's crucial. Then maybe focusing on efficiency when you mature, and always needing that innovation to avoid decline.
Which brings us neatly to the very start. Conception and validation, phase 1.
Right. Every single business starts with an idea. Spotting an unmet need, maybe an inefficiency, or just a whole new way of doing things. That's the conception or seed stage.
That initial spark, the what-if moment. Early research, trying to figure out if there's actually a there.
The goal is taking that fuzzy notion and seeing if it could actually be a real commercial opportunity, something people might actually pay for.
And the sources seem really big on the next step. Validation.
Oh, absolutely critical. This is where, honestly, a lot of potentially good ideas stumble. You might think it's brilliant, but have you actually checked if anyone wants it or is willing to pay?
Right.
Validation is about systematically testing your core assumptions before you pour serious time and money into building something nobody needs. It's about de-risking.
De-risking from the start. Makes sense. And the sources mention the MVP, minimum viable product.
Yeah, the MVP. Think of it as the simplest, most stripped-down version of your product or service that you can actually get in front of potential users. Why? To start gathering real feedback.
So it's not the final, polished thing.
Not at all. It's a tool. A tool for learning and iterating. See if you're really solving a problem and delivering value before you go all in on development.
Okay, and how do you actually do this validation? The sources must have practical tips.
They do. Customer interviews are highlighted as, foundational. Really crucial.
Okay.
And it's not about pitching, it's about deep conversations. Understanding potential customers' challenges, their current habits, their unmet needs, what frustrates them now.
So listening more than talking.
Way more. Think 90-10. 90% listening, 10% talking. You want to grasp their world, their past behavior, not lead them with hypotheticals about what they might do.
Right. Avoid the would you buy this question.
Exactly. And finding the right people to talk to is key. Leverage your network, reach out strategically, email, LinkedIn, maybe online communities where they hang out.
Okay. Interviews for deep dives. What else?
Surveys are useful too. Good for getting broader quantitative data from more people, demographics, general interest levels. Microsurveys, just a few focused questions, can be effective too.
But maybe not as deep as interviews.
Generally, no. And you have to be super careful with question wording. It's easy to accidentally lead people.
Gotcha. Then there's landing page testing. Fake door testing.
Yeah, that's a clever one. You create a simple web page describing what you plan to offer with a clear call to action, maybe sign up for updates or even pre-order.
So you gauge real interest based on whether people actually click that button.
Precisely. It asks for a small commitment, even just an email. Those conversion rates can be a much better signal of genuine interest than someone just saying, yeah, sounds neat.
Putting a little skin in the game. I like it.
Bet.
What about other MVP types?
Okay, so there's the explainer video, a short, compelling video showing your concept and benefits. Great for gauging understanding and interest without building anything functional yet.
Showing, not just telling.
Okay. Then the Wizard of Oz MVP. This one's fun. The front end looks totally automated, slick, but behind the scenes, you're doing everything manually.
Seriously. Like the man behind the curtain.
Exactly. It lets you test the user experience and perceived value of complex stuff without actually building the complex backend right away.
That seems intense. Labor intensive.
It can be, but it validates if there's demand for that seemingly sophisticated service. Then there's the concierge MVP. Here, the manual delivery is transparent.
As a different.
With Wizard of Oz, they think it's automated. With concierge, they know you're doing it manually. The point here is to get super deep insight into individual customer needs by providing a high-touch, personalized manual service.
So less about faking it, more about really learning from those first few users.
Exactly. And finally, crowdfunding or pre-order campaigns. Platforms like Kickstarter, this isn't just about money.
It's validation too.
Huge validation. If people are willing to pay upfront, that's a very strong signal of real market demand.
Okay, lots of ways to test an idea.
And the sources make a key point. Different methods give different levels of certainty. Someone saying, nice idea, weak signal.
Right.
Someone giving you their time for an interview, better. Someone giving you their money in a pre-order, that's a much stronger signal of real commitment.
Actions speak louder than words.
Pretty much. Interviews give you the why, the qualitative depth. Actions like pre-orders give you the hard evidence of purchase intent. It all feeds that build, measure, learn loop.
Build, measure, learn. Put something minimal out, measure the reaction, learn, adjust, repeat.
That's the cycle. Constant iteration. It dramatically ups your odds of building something people actually want.
Okay, so idea validated. Check. What's next? Figuring out exactly who this is for. Defining the market.
Spot on. The sources are really clear. You can't be everything to everyone. Trying that just dilutes your message, wastes resources. You need to pinpoint the segment of the market most likely to need, want, and be able to buy what you offer.
And that starts with market segmentation, breaking the big market down.
Exactly. Dividing it into smaller, manageable subgroups based on shared traits. The sources mention common bases, demographics, age, income, location, psychographics, lifestyle, values, attitudes. The why.
The why, okay.
Behavioral buying habits, usage rates, needs-based, what specific problem are you solving for them? And even value-based, especially B2B, what economic value do they get?
So you slice up the market. Then what?
Then you select your target audience. Which specific group or groups are you going to focus your main efforts on? It's about being efficient and impactful with your limited resources.
But the sources go deeper than just a target audience description, right? Buyer personas.
Yes, buyer personas. Think of these as detailed, semi-fictional profiles of your ideal customer within a target segment. You give them a name, a job, goals, challenges, motivations. You bring them to life.
Make them feel like a real person.
Exactly. And creating them isn't guesswork. It involves research interviews, surveys, website data, support tickets, social media listening. Then you look for patterns in that data. Based on those patterns, you draft the personas, blending the quantitative data, like demographics, with the qualitative stuff, motivations, frustrations, and crucially, you share them across the company and keep refining them.
And the payoff for doing all this persona work?
Huge benefits, according to the sources. Much more targeted, personalized marketing. Messages that actually land. It guides product development, keeps the real user front and center.
Makes sense for product teams.
And sales. Helps them qualify leads much more effectively. Personas bridge that gap between high-level strategy and day-to-day stuff. They add the who and the why. It fosters empathy. It informs everything. Messaging, features, channels, user experience. It makes it human.
Human-centered. Okay. Idea validated, customer defined. Now it's time to formalize things. Phase 2. Planning and launch.
Right. The sources say this is where you take that validated idea and deep customer understanding and create your strategic business plan. Especially vital in those first few years. It's your roadmap.
And not just for investors.
No, definitely not just for investors, though it's essential for that too. It's a crucial internal tool, guides your decisions, helps you track progress, keeps everyone aligned on the vision as you launch and navigate the market.
So what goes into a typical business plan? The sources break it down.
They do. Starts with the executive summary, the quick overview, then company description, what you do, problem solve, your edge, market analysis, industry, target market, competition research.
All that segmentation work pays off there.
Absolutely. Then organization and management, legal structure, team experience, service or product line benefits, life cycle, any IP, R&D plans, marketing and sales strategy, how you'll reach customers, funding request if you need investment, and financial projections, income, cash flow, balance sheet forecasts, usually for 3 to 5 years, plus an appendix for supporting docs.
That's comprehensive.
It is. But remember the business model, too. It complements the plan. While the plan has the detail, the model is more concise, visual, answers. Who's the customer? What value do they get? How do we make money?
And the business model canvas is a tool for that.
Exactly. The sources highlight it. 9 building blocks. Value propositions, customer segments, channels, customer relationships, revenue streams, key resources, key activities, key partnerships, cost structure, all interconnected.
So the plan gives the narrative depth. The canvas gives the agile visual structure for brainstorming and testing.
You got it. Both are really indispensable for turning that vision into a solid plan for launch and growth.
Okay. And a big part of that plan you mentioned is understanding the competition.
Absolutely critical. The sources really push for systematic analysis here. Don't just rely on gut feel. Look at the whole industry landscape, trends, customer needs, and your specific competitors.
How do you do that systematically? Frameworks?
Frameworks help structure it. SWOT is a big one. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats.
Right, internal versus external.
Exactly. Strengths and weaknesses are internal, what you do well, where you're lacking, you have some control. Opportunities and threats are external market shifts, competitor actions, less direct control.
Where do you get the info for a SWOT?
Internal assessments, customer feedback, market research, competitor analysis, looking at their websites, marketing, even employee input. Get a holistic view.
Okay, SWOT for your own position. What about the industry itself?
That's where Porter's 5 forces comes in. Great for analyzing industry attractiveness, potential profitability. It looks at 5 forces.
5 forces, okay.
Competitive rivalry, how intense is the fight between existing players? Threat of new entrants, how easy is it for others to jump in? Bargaining power of suppliers, can they dictate terms to you? Bargaining power of buyers, can customers drive your prices down? And threat of substitutes, can customers get their needs met elsewhere, maybe from a different industry?
Wow, okay. That covers a lot of pressure points.
It really does. And the sources also briefly mention pestle analysis, political, economic, social, technological, legal, environmental, for that really broad macro view.
So how do SWOT and quarters fit together?
They're complementary. Porters helps define the industry battleground, the forces at play. SWOT helps assess your specific position on that battleground, your strengths and weaknesses relative to the external opportunities and threats.
It's not just about filling out charts, though, right? That has to lead to action.
Absolutely. The whole point is to inform strategy. SWOT insights help you leverage strengths for opportunities or address weaknesses that expose you to threats. Porter's insights might lead you to differentiate, build stronger supplier relationships, or lock in customers to reduce buyer power. It's analysis for action.
Analysis for action. Got it. Yeah, okay, plan done, competition understood. Now, the launch. Yeah. Laying the groundwork.
Exactly. The launch phase is about turning plans into reality, setting up the formal, operational, and legal structure, foundational work.
First big decision. Legal structure, sole proprietor, partnership, LLC, S Corp, C Corp.
Yeah, and it's a big one. Affects your personal liability, taxes, complexity, even funding options later. The sources stress getting this right early. And for partnerships or LLCs, get that operating agreement sorted, outlines ownership, profit splits, avoids disputes later.
Good advice. Then registration, licenses.
Yep. Get your employer identification number, EIN, if needed. Register with state and local authorities for taxes. Get any permits or licenses your industry and location require. Requirements vary a lot, so research is key.
Compliance is crucial.
Definitely. And you need an operating plan, too. Maps out the day-to-day processes, costs, resources needed.
And funding. The initial cash.
Critical. Sources mention personal savings, maybe loans, angel investors, venture capital VCs. But getting bank loans early? Tough. High risk for them.
So expect financial uncertainty at launch.
Very much so. Sales might be low, inconsistent, costs are high up front, you might lose money initially. Takes time to break even, so careful cash flow management is absolutely vital. Plus, refining the product based on early feedback.
Okay, survive the launch.
Yeah.
Now phase 3, early stages and growth. Focus shifts.
Big shift. Now it's about gaining real traction. Building a sustainable customer base that requires a solid, consistent marketing and sales strategy.
What does that involve early on?
Sources list key things: branding, maybe some PR, advertising, social media, SEO for online visibility, content marketing, having a clear sales process. But the main thing, everything needs to be tightly integrated and align with those target segments and buyer personas we talked about. Tailored messaging.
No generic stuff. Speak their language.
Exactly. Understand their needs, pain points, where they hang out online. And track everything. Measure marketing performance, calculate your customer acquisition cost P/T, how much to get one customer, then optimize your spending, get the best bang for your buck.
Makes sense. And if it works, you enter the growth stage. Sales up, customer base growing.
Ideally, yes. You start seeing increasing sales, more customers, maybe hitting profitability, positive cash flow. But there are warnings too.
Like what?
Growing too fast. Don't outstrip your ability to actually deliver quality, and expect more competition. As you succeed, others notice. That can lead to a shakeout.
Shakeout.
Yeah, intensified competition, maybe price wars, margins get squeezed. So growth demands focus on operational scalability. Systems, processes, tech that can handle more volume without breaking.
Need the infrastructure to support the growth.
And strong financial management. Keep a close eye on metrics, control costs. You might even need more funding to fuel that growth.
And the founder's role changes here too, right?
Yeah.
Can't do it all anymore?
Huge change. You have to build a team. Learn to delegate effectively. Maybe outsource non-core stuff.
So what does the founder do then?
The focus shifts. Communicate the vision clearly. Build and manage the team. Trust and empower people through delegation. Manage key relationships, customers, employees, investors, suppliers. Foster the company culture.
From doer to architect.
Exactly. Architect, team builder, relationship manager. If the founder can't make that shift, can't empower the team, that can really limit how far the company can grow.
Crucial transition. Okay, navigated early growth. What's next? Phase 4, scaling and mastery.
Right. After that rapid growth, businesses often hit maturity. Sales growth slows, maybe plateaus, competition is established, margins might be tighter, but cash flow is usually more stable, predictable.
So the focus changes again.
Yeah, often shifts to consolidating your position, boosting efficiency, defending market share. But maturity isn't necessarily the end of growth.
Yeah.
No, many companies choose strategic expansion, actively seeking new growth. Could be market penetration, selling more existing products to existing markets. Market development, taking existing products to new markets. Product development, new products for current markets. Or even diversification, totally new products in new markets.
Lots of options, but requires planning and resources, I assume.
Absolutely. Careful planning, research, funding. And then comes that critical crossroads mentioned earlier. Innovation or decline.
Right. Adapt or fade.
Decline happens if you fail to adapt. Market changes, tech advances, customer needs shift. If you stand still, you fall behind.
But decline isn't inevitable.
Not at all. Sources say you can renew through continuous innovation, products, services, processes, investing in technology, exploring new markets, maybe even business model reinvention, fundamentally changing how you operate.
And culture matters here too.
Hugely. Fostering an adaptive culture that embraces change, encourages experiments, rewards innovation. Maturity shouldn't mean complacency. It demands proactive renewal.
Keep evolving. And as companies get really big,
Strategic management gets more complex. Constantly monitoring competition, refining business models, maybe looking at mergers and acquisitions, M&A, strategic partnerships. Financial oversight gets heavier duty managing debt. Maybe employee stock ownership plans. ESOPs, sophisticated investment strategies.
so the analysis and adaptation never really stop, even for huge companies.
Never stops. You always need to analyze data, spot trends, adapt strategies. It's an ongoing process.
It really sounds like the entrepreneurial journey isn't a sprint, is it?
Definitely not. It's a marathon, a continuous process of learning, adapting, evolving.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. We've journeyed through the life cycle. Idea spark, crucial validation, planning, launch, navigating early growth, building a team, and then scaling, adapting, aiming for mastery. The key seems to be aligning strategy with each stage.
Absolutely. And recurring themes kept popping up, didn't they? Rigorous validation, understanding the customer deeply through personas, strategic planning as a living process, knowing your market and competitors, building a strong, adaptable team.
And that relentless need to learn and adapt to change.
That's it. Entrepreneurial mastery isn't a final destination you just arrive at. It's this ongoing, dynamic process. Learning, adapting, iterating.
You have to be willing to embrace the ambiguity,
Yeah.
right? Seek out information, build resilience, bend, don't break.
Well said. So maybe a final thought for you listening. Think about your own interests, your own venture. Which stage of this life cycle feels most relevant to you right now?
Yeah, and what's one key takeaway from this deep dive that you could apply, maybe even today?
Keep exploring these ideas. We'd love to hear your thoughts or questions if you have them.